What's up? My name's Stefan Vandal Fazaker. I dropped out of university when I was 19. And over the past 2 years, I've made multi six figures online. I've quit my 9 to 5, and I now travel the world. I've traveled to 4 different continents over the past 6 months alone, and I can work from anywhere in the world on just a laptop like this. And I figured, I haven't made billions, but I've done some pretty cool things a lot of people want to do. I would share my story and exactly why I dropped out of university in the first place. Maybe to give you some insight on whether you should drop out or not. And kind of just share my story on everything that I went through and maybe to inspire somebody else. And so I guess we'll start way back when I was born. I was born in Europe, and then not long after, family decided to move to Canada to pursue, for my brothers and I to pursue and get better educations because you can do that better here, supposedly. I went to school and I hated it. I despised school. I despised the school system. I just despised everything about it, like everybody else in this world, I think at least, right? I always wanted to quit, even when I was in grade 6, I wanted to drop out and quit, and I would just I remember I would walk home with my wired headbuds in, and I would play this song called Murder Power. That's the guy who made the song Murder Power, and it's this remix. And I would just sit there and I would be so mad, but be so fueled with so much energy to go out there and just do something cool. Mind you, I didn't know what I was doing. I was so young. I didn't know anything. Right? I didn't have a business, but I was just fueled with so much energy. I would even, when I'd walk past the soccer, the field goal, the soccer goal, whatever, I would jump up and do some pull-ups with my backpack on and just feel like an absolute phenomenal, just a beast, you know what I mean? Yet that transferred to nothing, and I ended up staying in school and even graduating high school. Despite, during this time, I tried different business ventures. I mowed lawns, I cleaned for people, I even washed cars. I took bottles to the bottle depot and made a bit of money that way. I sold stuff online, you name it, I probably tried it to make a bit of money. I ended up buying the camera, not the one you're watching this video on, but a different camera, and started to film some videos around town. And that kind of got me known. People started to know me as the video guy. I started to film some more videos. But that never really amounted to anything significant. I made, multiple thousands of dollars doing that, but nothing significant to the point where I could drop out of university. Anyways, we'll sum up the story a bit and go a bit quicker here. I ended up graduating in the midst of COVID 2020. Then, did the first year at university online, which is just it's laughable at how that was. And then the next year, everything was going back to in person. So I actually moved from the town that I grew up in for most of my life to a different city to go to university. And so I went for my second year. Now, the first year, I didn't mind you, I've always been pretty good at school. I've had straight A's my entire life. In the first year at school, the way that my school does rankings, they rank on 4.33 GPAs, the highest GPA you can get. I had a 4.15. I was on the dean's honor list. I had scholarships, bursaries, all that fun stuff, right? Next year I went to school in person, and I so vividly remember taking my marketing class. It was intro to marketing. I think it was marketing 101 or something like that. And I remember showing up to that class, and instantly I knew it was just a gong show. I knew this was just absolute bullshit. My professor is some fucking pedophile, basically. Looks like it probably is. And had a bad rep around the school already. And I remember the first day we were going through the course curriculum, and it never mentioned anything about online advertising. It only talked about newspaper and radio and television ads. And that was my first time when I was what the fuck? Genuinely, what the fuck is this? I'm taking, granted, I was in business school. I was getting my business degree. So I was getting my business degree from motherfuckers who have never ran a business, who get paid a salary by the school to teach shit from a book that is 500 years old, written by a guy that's designed, if you don't know, the whole school system was made by John D. Rockefeller and his family. And John D. Rockefeller even said at one point in his life that the point of school is made for people to become better workers. It's not for them to become creative and think outside the box. It's made for them to become better workers. And so this book is being taught by somebody who doesn't know anything about business, that was probably written by some fucking fool, some buffoon, who probably wrote it to indoctrinate people in some way, shape, or form. Anyways, we digress. I'll stop yapping here. No one ordered a fucking yappuccino. I remember one time, the teacher and the student were debating with each other on whether it was better to put the ad on the right or the left side of the newspaper. Mind you, we are in 2022. 2022, and they're debating whether they should put it on the right or the left of the newspaper. Like, fuck, I haven't touched a newspaper since I was like 5. That's the shit you use to clean up a mess in your house, you know? Like, you might put that down to paint on. Like, no one reads that anymore, do they really? Like, maybe I'm just fucking out of the game, but like, I'm pretty sure, like, from my knowledge, which is very limited, that people don't use that shit no more. And it's evident when you look at the advertising budgets of the biggest companies, you don't see fucking newspaper ads in there, right? It's only online advertising, right? And that was when I was like, okay, what the fuck? But there's been more moments where I sat there and went, what am I doing? And there was another time where I was in my economics class, which economics was kind of cool because you get to learn a little bit about supply and demand and all that fun stuff, right? And like, mind you, like I said, I had a really good GPA. I think my second year had like a 4.2 something GPA. It was like pretty cool. And I remember one of these tests, me and one of my buddies, one of my school buddies and whatnot, right? We took the test and we got our marks back. And we were so used to getting like 90s, 100s, whatever, that when we saw that we had a bit lower grade than we intended, we were both a little bit confused. And so we looked at each other and went through the test and realized that there was one question that we were like dead certain that we had it right. And so we went up and we were like, hey man, like, I think this is wrong. He was, hey guys, like, you know, the class about to end, just come talk to me in my office hours after. So, okay, no worries. So we went and talked to him in his office after the class upstairs. And it was just 3 of us. And we're up to him like, hey man, like, this isn't right. He goes, no. Like, let me explain. He's like trying to explain this to us. And we're like, dude, like, you don't get it. Like, that's wrong. And it literally took us sitting there for 30 minutes, pulling out our phones, pulling up graphs online and using an entire whiteboard full of different fucking graphs to show this guy that the equation that he had done was wrong. And when he finally realized, when we finally proved to him that what he had been teaching was wrong, he sat there and almost cried. And like, maybe I'm a dick saying this, but he sat there and almost cried. And he said to his boys, I don't know what to do. I've been teaching this class, I think he said, for like 17 years, and I've been teaching it the same way for 17 years. No one has ever told me about that. He said, I've been doing this wrong for 17 years. He said, what do I do? Being the dumb fucking kids we were, I don't know, maybe give us some extra marks. He's like, yeah, I'll have to give everybody extra marks. And I sat there and thought that this guy literally has been teaching this class for 17 years, and for 17 years straight has been teaching people this wrong formula. Now, granted, this formula means fuck all, and you'll never use it in your life. But like, still, he taught it wrong to thousands of people who now think that that's the right way. And think of how many other times it happens in our life. And in business, or even just in school, when somebody teaches something and they don't even know why they think the way they think, they don't even question their thought process, they just think they're right because that's the way they were taught. They don't ever, most people live in this world where they don't ever even question the things around them. They just take them at face value and go, oh, well, I got it wrong. I guess I must have got it wrong. And they just don't like, they don't even second guess it. Like, they don't even look into it. And they just, like, take life as it comes. And that's why most people probably hate their life, because they sit there and just let life do what they want to it. That's disclaimer, that's not a fun way to live, okay? And that's when I realized, okay, this is just a fuck fest. Like, this is, and that's quite literally what university is. It's a publicly endorsed place to drink, is the way I see it. It's a way where it's a place where people can go to hook up and drink and not feel guilty about it because it's socially acceptable. That's like, really, if you look at universities are, like, that's what most of them are. It's just this public fuckfest, right? Where it's acceptable to do that kind of thing. Anyways, we digress. And granted, I understand, like, lawyers and doctors, like, by all means necessary, like, you guys do your thing, right? But there's, like, if you even just, like, fundamentally look at life, how did you get better at walking or brushing your teeth or any sport you played? Well, you get better by doing, right? And I'd argue that most people in most professions, you can just get better by doing. As a matter of fact, and this is one of the reasons why I really dropped out. I had a job at the bank, like a really good job. It paid good money. It was a really good job that allowed me to ascend to a really good high corporate position, right? Good for any normal individual, not for myself. And I remember when I got hired, one of the first questions I asked my hiring manager afterwards, hey man, I don't have a degree. So, you know, obviously, like, I'm still in university, like, obviously, you know that. But, like, let me ask you a question. If 2 people came to you, like, does a degree matter? He's like, well, no. He said, like, I said, okay, let me do this. If one guy has a degree but no experience, the other guy's experience, you can see it's good, and he has no degree, who are you picking? He said, oh, the guy with no experience. Or my bad, the guy with experience, but no degree. I said, okay, interesting. I said, why? He goes, well, I just want the person who's best for the job. Cool. And I think one of the coolest things or funniest things I still thought to this day is I got hired for this position, right? And I was like 20 or something like that, give or take. Maybe like, I think it was 19 or 20. I think it was 19. It was 19, okay? And I got hired for this position. And I remember this other guy got hired a little bit after me. And he had just finished like his MBA. And guess what position he got? The same one as me. He went through years and years and years of university and college, multiple years to get his, whatever diploma and his degree and then his MBA, to only then get the same job as me. You want to know the funniest part? To become in the bank I worked in, to become one of the highest positions and the position that you can make the most money in, you don't even need a degree. And so not only did I have a head start on this guy, I also hadn't spent thousands and thousands of dollars on unnecessary schooling that literally gave that guy no advantage. It didn't get him a higher job role. It didn't help him out in the job. As a matter of fact, like every job is unique to itself. And so to become good at the job, you have to just do the job more. And I think, that's when I was like, okay, like, first off, if I want to be an entrepreneur and start a business, why am I learning business from people who are still stuck in the fucking 1800s, let alone haven't even started a business, right? Like, I was like, okay, that seems a bit counterintuitive. And then I was working, I was like, okay, even if I fail, even if I'm like, my business goes under, right? I could just go back to the bank, already have, some experience under my belt. I made the bank like, it was like 2 to 3 million in the year and a half I was there. And for the last half of the year, I worked part-time, which is like, for context, a full-time employee. It was more than 2 mil. I think I brought them like 4 or 5 mil. I think it was like 5 mil over 2 years. That's right. 5 mil over 2 years. A full-time employee to hit their like good standard has to bring in $1 million a year full-time. I worked part-time, and in a year and a half, I did 5 mil. Pretty cool. Okay. And so I already have that experience on my belt. I was like, worst case scenario, my business fails. I just go back and apply for a bank job, show them my experience that I already had, sales for my business, marketing. Like, how many people can write on a resume? Yeah. I've sold thousands of dollars. I've ran ads for hundreds of companies. I've done this. I've learned communication skills. I've managed a team of 30 plus people. At one point I managed a team of 30 plus people. Tell you something fucking cool. Everything I got taught in management, unapplicable when I manage a team of 30 plus people. Like, literally not even applicable. Like, not a single thing was applicable. I'll tell you one thing. If you're going to go to school, go for accounting. Accounting was actually the one thing I'm very grateful I went for. Like, I actually learned a lot of that, and now I save a lot of money with taxes due to that, and I'm able to run a better business because I understand accounting and all these and some of these other regulations and whatnot. So if you're going to go for that. Everything else, you can literally learn it better, quicker, and faster on YouTube, or by doing it. Like, if you want to get good at management, just go find yourself in a place where you're managing 30 people who fucking hate you. I promise you, you'll learn a lot more about management in 10 minutes of working that job than you would in 10 years of going to university studying a fucking management degree. Like, the most bullshit, useless degree out there. It's actually, funny enough, the degree that people go for when they're too stupid to go for the accounting or finance ones. Literally, it's the cop-out. We make fun of everyone who gets a marketing or management degree. We make fun of them as accounting or finance students like myself because they were we call them the failed business students. They're the stupider ones. Anyways, there's some fucking cool university business stuff for you. Anyways, after I went through my second year, I couldn't. And that's when I was working at the bank. And I was like, you know what? I went and I did my next year. And I told my parents. They were like, fuck no, you're not doing that. I finished my first semester in third year. And I went, where you can go enroll in all your other courses. I deselected every course, dropped all my courses, and from that day forward, I told myself I was never going to go to university again. Now, fast forward about, 2-3 years later, still haven't gone back to university. I have made more money than I've ever made in my life. I have made more money than I would have ever made even at the highest position at the bank. And I have the freedom to work anywhere in the world. I can work at any time I want. Right now, it's 9:53 p.m. and I'm working. Why? Because I fucking want to. Tell me who in the world that works a corporate job decides to work at 10 p.m., let alone 12 or 1 or 2 a.m. Like, decides, goes, yes, that's what I want to do with my night. You see, that's the power of doing something where you fucking control what you do and have a little bit of fun by doing while doing it. Okay. And so from that moment, I said, you know what, I'm doing this no more. And I remember even I wrote my last final exam. I probably fucking aced it. Like, for context, to give you some pro tips, if you are in school and you're trying to become an entrepreneur, like I started my first ever agency. I tried drop shipping, that failed. But I started my first ever agency while I was in university, like in that third semester, which ended up scaling to 10K per month, like 3 months after that. The best way to balance that, like business and school, is when you're like focus on the thing you're doing. So when you're in school, like put your fucking phone away, focus on what the teacher's saying. Now, granted, it's all gonna be a bunch of fucking bullshit, right? But if you have to pass or you have to get good grades, whatever the case is, you might as well focus while you're there and just listen. And then that way you have to do no homework. Like the only homework I ever did is the homework that was worth like a significant amount of marks. Otherwise, like for context, I never bought a textbook because I was fucking cheap and I didn't want to buy any textbooks and I didn't think I needed them. PSA, I didn't. I still had like a 4.2 GPA out of 4.33, so pretty fucking good. I was on the Dean's Honor List every year, like all this cool stuff, right? Never bought a textbook because you don't fucking need them, okay? But when you're in class, study. Like, I mean, when you're in class, listen, like pay attention. Like that's the easy tip I give you. Then when you're out of class, focus on your business. So that way, like you're not trying to like split your focus, right? And like, oh shit, like I need to do homework. And then you're like working, you're like, oh, I should probably do that, study for that quiz. And when you're doing the quiz, you're like, I want to make money, right? It doesn't work. Like focus on the thing you're doing, okay? We digress. No one wants to hear and listen about university stuff anymore, okay? Anyways, that's when I decided, you know what? I'm not doing this no more. I dropped out and I told myself, okay, I'll keep my job at the bank and I'll keep working like 1 to 2 days a week. Yeah, fun fact, within I think 4 weeks of that happening, I quit the bank as well. I was like, I'm making way more money from my business and I'm spending way less time relative to working at the bank. See you guys. And I left. And ever since then, I've never been back in the Matrix. And yeah, that is, I guess, a very dumbed down version of my story of why I dropped out of university, or I guess how I dropped out of university, some of my thoughts around it, some of, like granted, it's funny, my parents didn't like it at all until they saw the money in my account. They're like, oh, okay, I guess this whole entrepreneurship thing can work. And like, for all you guys who have parents who are like, oh, I don't believe, like, they don't believe me, whatever the case is, it's not that they don't love you, at least I hope not. For most people, it's that they love you so much that they want you to do something they know that you'll succeed in. And since this whole entrepreneurship online game is so new, they haven't like seen it work firsthand. Therefore, they don't believe in it. And therefore, they want you to be safe and taken care of because they don't want to work for you for the rest of their lives. And therefore, they want you to do something that is quote unquote safe, which funny enough, university is literally more riskier in my opinion than just going out there and getting a good job and just like proving yourself, right? Like, think about this. If a company has to fire people, they're going to fire the people who suck the most, not the people who are the best. You know what I mean? And so if you just want to become, like, if you want to become irreplaceable, do things no one else can do. So like, just become the hardest fucking worker, gain skills that no one else can gain, and you'll never get fired. And you'll probably get raises faster than anyone else will. Right? Like, it's really easy to, like, the thing is, it's also really easy to make a lot of money in the corporate world. Like, it's genuinely super simple. You just have to know how to properly spend your money. I rather said keep it, and then just work your fucking ass off, because get this, no person I've ever met in the corporate world works hard. They show up to do the thing they need to do to get their paycheck, and then they go home and fuck off and try and forget about how bad work is. So if you're going to show up and work hard, you'll be better than 99% of the people that are work around you anyway, which will mean you can get raises and make a lot of money a lot faster. So yeah, pro tip for you all. But yeah, that's my story. A very dumbed down version. If you want me to stay here for the next 4 hours and explain, let me know. I can do that. But yeah, that's how and why I dropped out of university at 19 and why I will never go back. And I can now sit here at 10 p.m. at night and share my story and inspire other individuals to help other people make money. And it's probably the most fulfilling thing in the world. And I wouldn't change it for anything. So I'm very blessed for all the great opportunities that people I have around me to make that happen. But yeah, that's about it. I'd say the only good thing about university, there's two. One, the friends I met. Now, granted, like there's some, like most people you meet are just fake fuckers, but there's some people in there that are real. And one of my best friends to this day, who now owns his own business as well, who makes really good money. I met him in university, so I'm very thankful for that. And I think the other thing is the accounting I learned. Like, I'm just thankful I learned accounting from a guy who actually owned an accounting firm, which I think, ironically, I think the reason why the accounting I learned was good is because the guy that taught me it actually owned his own accounting firm. And therefore, he wasn't just speaking out of his ass. He taught from experience and not from just, some bullshit, whatever, read in the book. So yeah, that's my story. Hope you enjoyed. Hope it inspired you to go out there and fucking escape the matrix. Here, I'll tell you something cool. When you do escape the matrix, and when you do quit your 9 to 5, instead of working 8 hours a day, you know how many hours you'll work per day? 16. That's the really cool thing. Guess what? I'll tell you something really cool. After you escape Matrix 1.0, there's Matrix 2.0. There's the corporate matrix, then there's the entrepreneurial matrix, which is you work 18 hours a fucking day. You barely get any sleep. You don't know what to do. If the thing you're going to do is work, you're scared if you're not going to be able to if you're going to be able to pay rent next month. That's when the real fun begins. Fuck the matrix.